2020 was a bad year for many motorcycle manufacturers. On that list, Harley Davidson, which posted some scary numbers. Motorcycle sales down 17%, and Harley Davidson has pretty much been sliding since 2014. People are starting to think that Harley Davidson is dying. What led to Harley Davidson's downfall? Can the company even recover? And what the heck does Jason Momoa have to do with all of this? I don't know. We're gonna find out. Harley Davidson is in a sticky situation right now. New gens want the company to make cheaper bikes. The old gens want American bikes. Somehow, Harley Davidson is disappointing two demographics at once. Motorcycle sales have been falling, but the company's stock has been going up. That's because in February of last year, the company went into revival mode. They appointed a new CEO and released a 5-year turnaround strategy. They're calling it Hardwire. You gotta love Harley Davidson. They have a way to make everything sound cool. These guys can sell bankruptcy. The Hardwire strategy involves pulling out of 39 markets, cutting back production, and investing more into big cruisers, touring, and trikes. What the? Obviously, some people were upset. They felt that Harley Davidson was throwing more money into the very thing that got them in this mess. Which got me thinking, has Harley Davidson gone insane? Or is this actually a good strategy to saving the company? To better understand why Harley Davidson went this direction, we have to go back to a time where the company was going bankrupt and what they did to save themselves. A very long time ago, a company called AMF bought Harley Davidson. AMF was known for their bowling equipment, so you can imagine this is gonna be a shit show. They had no idea how to run a motorcycle company. They streamlined the whole production process, cut massive corners, they bought the cheapest parts they could find, and drove Harley's reputation into the ground. The entire company was a mess. They had their hands in so many different industries like toy airplanes, baking equipment, and launch systems for missiles. Okay, that was pretty cool. Their workers were on strike half the time and their production facilities were completely outdated. So Harley Davidson to then became your quintessential project bike, something you bought for cheap with the high hopes of turning it into a cool cafe or bobber, but then you never actually found the time or had the skill or effort, and so you just let it sit there for years, and now you're selling it on Craigslist. The AMF years were some of the worst years in Harley Davidson history. They actually made some decent motorcycles like the FX 1200 Superglide, which was an instant hit, and the XLCR 1000 Cafe Racer, which did not sell, but in hindsight was pretty freaking cool. Generally though, AMF bikes were not well built and disgustingly unreliable. Then in 1981, something amazing happened. Something no one expected. 13 Harley Davidson execs bought the company from AMF for $80 million, which is basically clearance price. The company was about to die. But Willie G. Davidson and these 12 dudes swore to return Harley Davidson to the #1 best-selling brand in the world, or at least in North America. They had one major problem though, something that was causing them a lot of trouble. The Harley Davidson Killer, aka the Honda CB750, the universal Japanese bike. The perfect blend of convenience, versatility, and performance. Plus, they were cheap and indestructible, two things which Harley Davidson was not. So naturally, they were scared. So Harley Davidson needed a plan, and a good one. They decided they would cut back on production, pour more money into building better cruisers, which sounds a lot like the Hardwire plan right now, and then they would go to the Reagan administration and beg them to raise tariffs on all foreign bikes 700 cc's and above. I wonder why. It's because of the Honda CB750. That's why. Honorable? No. But strategic? Also no. There was just no avoiding the Honda CB line. They were just everywhere. But at least Harley Davidson could now compete in their favorite segment, heavyweight motorcycles. And Harley's very simple strategy worked. By 1985, the company was back to being a thriving and profitable motorcycle company. But that was back in the 80s where Harley loyalty was strong and people were willing to spend big bucks on quality premium cruisers. Could something like this work today? Can Harley Davidson rely on tradition to sell their premium cruisers? The short answer is no. In 2008, Harley Davidson's loyalty began to fade. The recession hurt motorcycle ownership. Harley sales tanked, people had less money to spend, and there was a new challenge facing Harley Davidson. A new villain. The millennials. Unlike boomers, millennials weren't interested in spending $30K just to attend Sturgis that year. They had other worries like global warming and cyberbullying. And on top of that, Harley's rebel outlaw image just really didn't work with the new generation. And so Harley had to change things up. After some very long hours on the drawing board, Harley Davidson finally had their answer. This.
What?
The 2009 Tri-Glide Ultra Classic, a decked out mobility scooter for grand. A total bargain price, a big up yours to the new generation. Call your Harley dealer today, financing options available. Why would they sell this? Well, trikes make Harley Davidson good money. Their demographic has aged tremendously, but so has their motorcycles. From cruisers to touring, from touring to trikes, Harley Davidson is just following their users' journey. They like to sell bikes to Harley enthusiasts because those are the guys willing to dish out the money. But even Harley Davidson riders are beginning to doubt the company.
If they were manufactured in a foreign country, I would not buy them.
In 2018, Harley Davidson announced it would be moving some of its production overseas to avoid the tariffs imposed by the EU. Oh, how the turns have tabled. This announcement upset many Harley riders and caused the company to lose even more money in sales. Sooner or later, the company has to sell to people it doesn't know how to market to. Non-Harley riders and newbies. But the question is, can Harley Davidson even do that? The last true entry-level motorcycle Harley made was the Street 500. You know, not a bad bike. It's sort of a cruiser, I think. It's got manageable performance. It's got a low seat height, an affordable price. You know, a decent entry-level bike. But what did Harley riders think of the motorcycle? How was it received by the public? 500 cc's? It's not a real Harley. No push rods. Liquid cooled. Less than 80 decibels from the factory. No, not a Harley. The bike just didn't live up to the fit and finish of the premium brand. So it was ridiculed for not being a true Harley. But to new riders, this motorcycle was a Harley. And that's not necessarily a good thing. You see, Harley Davidson is a lot more than motorcycles. There's a reason why their merch sells like hotcakes. The name holds history, lifestyle, and culture, but it also holds its fair share of stereotypes. Back then, Harley Davidson was considered cool, the epitome of individualism, freedom, and not giving a f***. But the new generation doesn't see that. They see Harley Davidson as uncivil America. The brand has lost its cool with the new generation. This is where Aquaman comes in. They are actively trying to shift Harley Davidson's image to something more of escapism and adventure. And Jason Momoa, someone who's hip with the youth, is a good person to help with that. Will it work? I don't know. But escapism and adventure is a much more wholesome message. Even if Harley Davidson's brand is a little bit tainted, they still have an arsenal of retro nostalgia to use to their advantage. Kind of like Ducati's Scrambler line or Triumph's classics. Harley Davidson bikes are still well designed, they're iconic, and they're eye-catching. They're just stuck between an aging demographic that is losing interest and a new generation that wants little to do with them. So, is this the end for Harley Davidson? No, of course not. The company survived 2 goddamn wars. It's gonna take a lot more than COVID and millennials to bring it down. But Harley Davidson is running out of brand loyalty. They have to think of new ideas to bring in new riders. Pouring more resources into the big bikes that sell is understandable. Committing more to EV and adventure bikes, which is a good position, there's a market there. But launching a new pre-ownership program to attract new riders is brushing the issue under the rug. But I'm interested in what you think. What do you think Harley Davidson should do with their current lineup? And do you think the company will exist in the near future? I don't know. I'm curious. Let me know.